I can't go through the door, and she's talking on the door. I wanted to let her in, but my husband won't let me. Okay. Because he's scared.
17, Amanda Gonzalez. Where's rescue? Clear up some space for rescue. We gotta take
Most violent crimes are committed by strangers. In these two cases, the danger did not come from outside. It came from the people who were supposed to love them. What you are about to witness is not a story about monsters. It is a story about how violence can live inside the people closest to us. It begins not on a street corner, not in a dark alley, not in any place where danger is expected to live. It begins inside a home, behind a door that family members once opened freely, in rooms where birthdays were celebrated, meals were shared, and children were raised. In two separate cities, on two separate days, the unthinkable unfolds in almost identical ways. A family member turns on the people he is supposed to protect. Officers are called. Bodies are found. And the seconds between arrival and action become the difference between life and death. The first case takes place in the Mantua neighborhood of Fairfax County, Virginia, on the morning of February 23rd. The man at the center of this tragedy is Chhatra Thapa, 54 years old. The victims inside that apartment were his own family, his wife, his daughter, his son-in-law, and present throughout, untouched and unharmed, a 1-year-old grandchild. The second case takes place in Hialeah, Florida. Officers respond to a 911 domestic disturbance call at a home on West 42nd Place and West 5th Court. A man has attacked 3 members of his own family: his mother, his teenage sister, his grandmother. At least one victim is already gone before police cross the threshold. 2 cities, 2 families, 2 men who chose violence against the people they were supposed to love. What follows is not a story about strangers. It is a story about betrayal at its most intimate level, about the decisions made in seconds when lives hang in the balance. Stay with us, because what these 2 cases reveal will challenge everything you believe about where violence truly begins.
I see them, they're coming. Take on. Okay, they're here. But you want to talk to our team coming now.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, you okay?
We're fine.
Okay, are you secure inside of your apartment?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we do have...
It is a snowy morning in a quiet residential neighborhood in Fairfax County, Virginia. The kind of morning that feels still and ordinary from the outside. But inside one apartment in the Mantua community, something catastrophic is already underway. Neighbors are calling 911. They report screams. They report an injured woman banging on a door. They report a man armed with an unknown weapon assaulting multiple people. By the time officers are dispatched, the violence has already been happening long enough for neighbors to hear it through their walls.
Come here, come up.
Oh, shit. Straighten out the door.
Ma'am, can you come up here? Ma'am, are you able to come upstairs?
The first thing officers encounter is not the suspect. It is a victim, an adult woman outside the apartment door, suffering from severe trauma, already bearing the evidence of what has been happening inside. She is alive. She needs help. But there is no time to stop, because inside that apartment, Chhatra Thapa is still there, still armed, still attacking.
Fairfax County Police, open the door! Hey, put
When
the
officers enter the apartment, what they find is a scene that their chief would later describe as a bloodbath. Chhatra Thapa, the 54-year-old patriarch of this family, is kneeling over his son-in-law, armed with a large curved blade, continuing an assault that has already claimed 2 lives. His wife is dead, his daughter is dead, and the man beneath him is still alive, but only barely, and only for as long as no one stops what is happening.
Hey, put the knife down! Drop the knife! Do it now! Drop the knife!
The officers issue verbal commands, loud, clear, and repeated with increasing urgency. Drop the knife. Drop the knife. Do it now. Thapa does not comply. He does not look up. He does not stop. He continues the assault as though the officers are not in the room. And in that moment, a 2.5-year veteran of the Fairfax County Police Department makes the decision that his training and his instinct and the scene in front of him demand. He fires.
Holy shit, Bravo, shots fired.
Thapa is struck multiple times. The attack stops, and within seconds, the same officers who just discharged a firearm pivot entirely. They become first responders. They begin rendering medical aid to the victims around them.
Hey, check pulses. We need to start CPR on some of these, I think. Check for injuries, okay? Is she breathing? No. Start CPR.
They call for fire and rescue. They start CPR. They do not leave. They stay inside that apartment and fight for the lives that remain. 3 stabbing victims are ultimately identified inside that apartment. 2 adult females and 1 adult male. The 2 women, Thapa's wife and daughter, do not survive. The son-in-law is transported to hospital in life-threatening condition. The 1-year-old grandchild, present throughout this entire event, is physically unharmed. Thapa himself is pronounced dead at the scene. And in the aftermath, as snow continues to fall outside the Mantua apartment complex, Fairfax County Police Chief Davis stands before cameras and says something that the body cam footage makes impossible to dispute.
And I described it on the day of, on February 23rd, and it was snow falling as a bloodbath. And I reflect back on that, and I wonder if, in fact, our 2.5-year veteran police officer saved a quadruple murder from happening.
A patriarch chose to destroy the family he was supposed to protect, and a young officer, with less than 3 years on the job, walked into the middle of that destruction and stopped it from becoming complete. That is the Fairfax County case, and it is only the first half of this story. But Fairfax County was not an isolated incident. Thousands of miles away, in the heat of a Florida morning, another family was living through a tragedy that follows the same devastating pattern. And the officers who responded would face the same impossible reality, arriving not to investigate a crime, but to enter one still in progress. Case 2. The Hialeah home, West 42nd Place, Hialeah, Florida. The 911 call from Hialeah, Florida describes a domestic disturbance at a residential address on West 42nd Place and West 5th Court. The caller reports violence. The nature of it is not yet fully understood by the dispatcher. But what officers find when they arrive goes beyond anything a brief radio description could have prepared them for. A man has attacked his own family inside their home, and some of them are already gone before the first officer steps through the door. The victims are the people who trusted him most. His mother, his grandmother, his teenage sister. 3 women inside a home that should have been safe, attacked by the one person in that home whose presence should have meant protection. His mother does not survive. His grandmother does not survive. His teenage sister sustains critical stab wounds and is rushed to hospital, her life hanging in the balance as officers work to secure the scene around her.
The son is in the back, armed with a knife.
The suspect is still inside the home when officers arrive. That fact alone transforms this from a rescue operation into something far more complex and far more dangerous. Officers must simultaneously locate victims, render medical aid, evacuate survivors, and contain a suspect who has already demonstrated he is willing to use lethal violence against the people closest to him. There is no moment to pause, no moment to assess calmly. Every decision is made while other decisions are still being executed.
There's a male along with a knife confirmed by the victim. Here's all units from out here.
Hey, right here, buddy. Hey. Oh, no, you're not going to see everybody. Yeah.
Is there anybody back there?
Hey, listen, evacuate. Hold up. Evacuate these people from here. Hey, too many people right here. Shield.
Let's go. Open door. Able. Open door right here to the left. Open door to the left, right?
Is this right clear? The right is 2 victims. I got 2 victims.
I can't see this corner right here. The corner.
Call them out.
What's his
Bring
name?
these people down. What's his name? Let's get the victims out. Come on.
What the body cam footage captures in Hialeah is the full weight of that reality. Officers calling out to each other across rooms, coordinating evacuations while scanning for a threat, requesting medical equipment in the same breath as issuing tactical commands. The building is not clear. The suspect has not been located. And yet the work of saving lives cannot wait for the building to be clear. So officers do both things at once, in real time, with incomplete information and no margin for error. The suspect is eventually located inside the residence. Armed with a knife, he advances toward officers. The confrontation is brief. Officers open fire. The suspect is fatally shot at the scene. And in the immediate silence that follows, the full scale of what has happened inside this home becomes visible. 2 dead, 1 teenager and grandma critically wounded. A family that will never reassemble in the same way again. And officers left standing in the middle of it, now responsible for securing a scene that was a home only hours before. Gunshot wound. The clinical language of a report that cannot fully capture what it was like to be inside that home on that morning. A mother dead, a grandmother and a teenage girl fighting for their life, and a young man who chose to turn the violence of his hands against the women who raised him. The motive, like the motive in Fairfax County, remains something investigators and communities and families are still trying to understand. Because there are some acts of violence that resist explanation no matter how many questions are asked. What the Hialeah case shares with Fairfax County is not just the pattern of violence. It is the pattern of response. Officers arriving into something still happening, making decisions without complete information, saving lives while confronting the person responsible for ending them. In both cases, the outcome could have been worse. In both cases, it was the speed, the discipline, and the presence of officers willing to enter a home where death had already arrived that prevented the final toll from being higher. These were not isolated tragedies. They were 2 chapters of the same story. In Fairfax County, Virginia, Chhatra Thapa ended the lives of his wife and his daughter and nearly claimed a third inside a snowy apartment while a 1-year-old grandchild sat unharmed nearby. In Hialeah, Florida, a son ended the lives of his mother and left his grandmother, his teenage sister, fighting for survival inside the home they shared. In both cases, the most dangerous place for the victims was the one place they believed themselves to be safe. Their home. Domestic violence does not announce itself from the outside. It lives behind closed doors, inside relationships, within families that the rest of the world may never fully see. The officers who responded to these calls did not hesitate. They ran toward what everyone else was running from. And in doing so, they prevented these tragedies from becoming even greater. If this documentary moves you, do not let that feeling stop here. Speak up, reach out, make the call, subscribe, like, comment, and share, because someone watching this right now may need to know that help is only one phone call away.